How's it going, guys? Robert Baxter has some wild plans for East versus West moving forward. Ermes may actually end up facing Levan before Vitaly Laletin. Frank Lamparelli talks about possibly quitting arm wrestling. And Engin, Robert, and Kiril apologize to Levan Saganashvili for the misunderstanding regarding the exhibition match at East versus West 16. We'll get to all of this and more in today's video. Alright guys, let's first talk about the plans that Robert Baxter has for East versus West moving forward. Before East versus West 16, Robert Baxter did an interview with Coach Ray where he talked about a lot of wild stuff regarding the future of East versus West, how to promote the sport, how to get it into the mainstream, get more eyes. And he mentioned a few things that I don't really know how I feel about it yet. He really wants to get some celebrities to come to these events, and I'm not really sure that that's what arm wrestling needs to be pushed into the mainstream. So one of the celebrities that he talked about trying to get to East versus West was Hezbollah. He's a very famous fella. He's 22 years old, I believe, but he's got this condition that doesn't allow his body to basically grow up past what a 5-year-old would look like. So he's very famous. He's also a pretty funny guy as well. So Robert Baxter wants to get him to East versus West. He also wants to get Sylvester Stallone. And then he talked about some things that I believe are just never going to happen. But I thought it was kind of funny because he just talks in this really chilled out monotone voice, even when he's saying the craziest things. So he wants to get really high profile matches on East versus West or King of the Table cards, and the two matches that he mentioned were Donald Trump versus Vladimir Putin and Mark Zuckerberg versus Elon Musk. Now, it would be totally insane if those matches happened. They will not happen. There is no way any of these guys are going to have matches with each other, and I don't know that this is really the way to go. I'd be curious to hear what you guys think about these high profile celebrity matches. Obviously these ones aren't going to happen, but I think the spirit of what he's trying to get across is that he wants celebrities to be at the events, to maybe even compete at the events, to hopefully get eyes on the sport and bolster popularity. But honestly, I don't really think this is what the sport needs. I've said it 100 times and I'll say it again. Arm wrestling is just far too boring for most people to watch. The setups are way too long. They need to just go straight to ref script. They should stop resetting the match after fouls. They should just implement running fouls so we get to watch more arm wrestling. And those two changes would drastically speed up the events and help viewer retention, in my opinion. And basically all the comment sections that I go into that are talking about how to promote the sport, how to get more eyes on the sport, basically every comment is that we have to shorten the time between matches, we have to shorten the setup times, there should be running fouls, stop allowing athletes to just foul to get a reset, and then we have to go through that whole setup process again. So rather than trying to get Sylvester Stallone or Hezbollah to attend one of the events, let's try to get these matches moving quicker so that the casual fan actually feels like it's worth it to cut out a chunk of their day to watch these events. Alright, let's move on. So Ermes just recently put out a video talking about his next match, and it sounds like he may be facing Levan before Vitaly Laletin. So before his match with Monster Michael Todd, he was basically saying, when I beat Michael Todd, I do want the match with Levan, obviously, but I really want to have the better part of a year to prepare for that match so that I can really bring my best and not waste the opportunity. But in his most recent video, he has reconsidered, and maybe he feels like he dominated Michael Todd. Maybe he feels much stronger than he expected, and he is ready to take on Levan. And in the video, he said maybe around June, and if that is the case, we could possibly see, and this is just something I've seen people comment, we could possibly see Devin Larratt versus Vitaly Laletin on the same card, and that would be absolutely amazing. Ermes versus Levan as the main event, Devin versus Vitaly as the co-main. People have been asking Devin to pull Vitaly for forever now, and obviously we all want to see the Ermes versus Levan rematch. So having these two matches on the same card would be super cool. Let me know if you guys think that is a possibility, and if not, what matches would you like to see on that card? All right, let's move on. So Frank Lamparelli, in his post-match interview after he lost to Sergey Kalinchenko, hinted at the possibility that he may be hanging up the gloves, throwing in the towel, and going back to his day job. And if he actually does quit, this would be a very sad day for the sport. Frank is a wonderful competitor. He's a great guy to have in the sport, a really good example to the younger guys. He's an extremely technical arm wrestler, very fun to watch, and his personality is charming as ever. So it would be a real tragedy if Frank quit. I personally don't think he will quit. I believe he's on a 2-match losing streak now, and Sergey Kalinchenko did beat him pretty badly, so I think after that match he was probably just feeling a bit down, and then those thoughts come into your head, oh, maybe I'm just not good enough, maybe I can't make it at the top anymore. I think Frank does just fine at the top, and Sergey was just a really bad matchup for him. So I don't think Frank will quit. I really hope he doesn't quit. He's so much fun to watch, and if Matt Mask isn't quitting, Frank, you should not be quitting. We love having you in the sport. All right, let's move on to the Engen / Robert Baxter / Kiril Sarachev apology video. This is over on the East vs. West Arm Wrestling channel. So this video was made in regards to the exhibition match that Levan had with Kiril after East vs. West 16. So this was done at the end of the event as some sort of bonus match. I don't know. I believe it was Robert Baxter's idea, and he's catching some heat for this. A lot of people are saying it was a stupid idea in the first place, and these businessmen that are getting involved in East versus West are kind of ruining the organization. I don't think they're ruining the organization. I think there are going to be good ideas and there are going to be bad ideas, and this was one of the bad ideas, unfortunately. But I also don't think it's that big of a deal. I actually found this apology video to be kind of embarrassing. So what happened during the exhibition match was, I guess Levan and Kiril kind of had this mutual agreement to only apply a little bit of pressure, basically have a glorified practice pool. And I don't know if they agreed that Levan would pin Kiril, or that neither of them would pin each other and they would just pull a little bit and then let go. I'm not sure if those details have been made public, but it doesn't really matter. Basically what happened is Kiril ended up pinning Levan, and possibly he applied a little bit more pressure than Levan was expecting. This turned into a big issue, and apparently Levan was really bothered by this, and he might have even been angry at Kiril for pinning him in front of his home Georgian crowd. I'm not really sure why he would be mad though. It's not like people actually think Kiril could beat Levan. We are all very well aware that Levan is #1 in the world, but since Levan got mad about this, people are now memeing him, and now I see comments everywhere that Kiril is the #1 guy in the world. Kiril took the title from Levan, and I think if he didn't get mad about it, if he didn't make such a big deal about it, no one would care. We would all just brush this off as a silly little exhibition match and move on with our lives. But since Levan apparently had such an issue with being pinned by Kiril in this glorified practice pool, now people are memeing, now people are kind of making fun of him, and it really does come off as kind of sensitive from Levan. I mean, we all know he kind of has this pride in not being pinned at all for the last, 7 years now? And maybe he felt like this kind of tarnished that reputation. But once again, we all know Kiril is no match for Levan. If this was an actual match, Levan would win 6-0 very easily. He wouldn't even feel Kiril. So this is a little bit of a fumble by Levan. If during their exhibition match he would have just laid down, let Kiril win, kind of laughed it off, shaked hands after, no one would care, no one would think anything of it. But yeah, since he kind of got mad about it, now he's kind of being made fun of. And this kind of segues into my next story. So during the East vs. West 16 press conference, Artyom Morozov greeted the Georgian crowd in their language. And I don't know if the subtitles that got translated are correct or not, but apparently he greeted them and they didn't answer the crowd didn't answer back. Then maybe he greeted them again, they still didn't answer, and he basically called them rude. And you can kind of see that he kind of chuckles about it, he laughs it off, and just moves on with the press conference. So no big deal, right? Well, apparently afterwards, Levan, Revaz, and a translator come over to Artyom. They surround him and start getting on him about how he was rude to the audience, about how he displayed such horrible manners towards the Georgian crowd. And this is just so silly, man. I could be wrong about this. Maybe the subtitles aren't correct, and maybe he said something far more despicable than what is being translated, but this is a press conference, man. If Artyom riles up the crowd, if Artyom is saying inflammatory things, that is good. That'll make people want to tune in to watch. The press conference is there to generate hype, to make people angry, to get people hyped up so that they come to watch the event. If he riled up the Georgian crowd, that would just make them want to come back to see him get smashed by Vitaly. Press conferences have always been about generating hype. That is their sole purpose. So even if what Artyom said was truly despicable, which I don't think it was, you just have to remember, this is a press conference. It is a non-serious atmosphere. And the fact that 3 of these guys came up to him afterwards, they surrounded him and got on his case about saying some really insignificant things is just so puzzling to me. We've been made to believe that the Georgians are these tough, stoic people and mind games don't work on these guys, right? But over and over again, they show themselves to be some of the most sensitive guys out there. And I guess I shouldn't say all Georgians. I'm mainly talking about Levan and Revaz Lutidze. If you remember quite a while back now, Revaz actually had a match with Vitaly Laletin. And when Vitaly Laletin pinned him, like many arm wrestlers do, he roared at the crowd. You know, he yelled. He didn't yank Revaz's arm or anything. He didn't even yell at Revaz. He yelled at the crowd, kind of like a victory yell. And Revaz very violently yanked Vitaly's arm back. And they were still in the straps. So Vitaly, it's not like Vitaly's hand just slipped out of his hand. They were strapped up, and Revaz yanked Vitaly towards him. He could have very easily injured Vitaly, and the match would have been over. All because Vitaly yelled at the crowd when he pinned Revaz. Really pathetic behavior from Revaz. And then after the match, Revaz was actually questioned about his behavior and asked why he yanked Vitaly's arm so violently, and he gave maybe one of the most beta answers he could have given. His response to the question of why did you yank Vitaly's arm like that was because he yelled at me. Well, he actually asked, why did he roar like that? Why did he scream at me? I don't know, bro, because it's arm wrestling, it's competition. Both of you guys have adrenaline coursing through your veins, and it's exciting when you win. It's exciting when you dominate. It's also rich coming from Revaz because his own friend Levan does the same thing when he wins. And I'm sure other Georgians do it too. If not, Revaz himself has probably done it at some point. And you'd think that after the match, Revaz would have had some time to think about what he did and realize, oh, I probably shouldn't have yanked Vitaly's arm. And when he's questioned about it, he would just say, yeah, I was in the heat of the moment. I yanked his arm. My bad. My mistake. I'm sorry. I'll try to control myself better in the future. But that's not what he said. The whole video is just him pouting, kind of holding his injured wrist. And so the fact that now, fast forward to the present, him and Levan are confronting Artyom Morozov over this really seemingly insignificant thing that he said during a press conference just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. And I think some of these Georgians just need to grow thicker skin. I'm starting to think that Irakli and Gennady are the only guys in Georgia who can take a joke. Anyways, I like Levan. He's the king. He's the champ. But when he does stuff like this, it just really comes across as sensitive. And I know these Eastern guys have different cultures than we do, but they just need to remember this is a press conference. What is the point of a press conference? You can't take it too seriously. So anyways, that is all for now. Just remember, folks, I am a fan of Georgian arm wrestlers. I'm a fan of North American arm wrestlers. I am a fan of arm wrestling in general, but you must criticize the things you love. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. There are certainly some crazy things coming in the future. I'd like to hear your guys' opinions on these businessmen that are kind of getting involved in the upper management of East versus West. Do you think they're doing a good job? Do you think they have good ideas? Are you kind of worried that Engin is starting to partner with guys that may not have our best interests in mind, or are you excited? I would say that I'm fairly optimistic about things moving forward, but we shall see. Thanks again for watching. Have a great day. Goodbye.